Hello and welcome to Cityline. I'm Leah Michelson. Thank you for being with us this morning on this snowy Tacoma morning. Today's program has 4 very interesting segments featuring a whole variety of upcoming activities from around Tacoma, but we begin today's program with an opportunity to talk to District 2 Tacoma City Council member Sarah Rumbaugh. Sarah, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you represent District 2,
Right.
which includes parts of downtown Tacoma, Stadium District, Old Town, North Slope, the Port of Tacoma, and Northeast Tacoma. That is a lot of parts of Tacoma.
I actually think by geography, I think I have the largest district.
Wow.
Yeah, and very diverse.
Absolutely.
So if you've been, like the Port of Tacoma, which is the economic engine of our city, to the north end and the northeast Tacoma part, it's just all very different and different interests and things they care about.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of challenges too, right? Opportunities and challenges to represent that big of a district.
Right, because I have the downtown as well. And so there's, just every issue that might come up is going to be seen differently and depending on where you live. Mm-hmm. So for instance, when we're talking about the light rail, like the link, there isn't, when they were expanding the link into Stadium, we don't have any use for that out in Northeast Tacoma unless you come all the way into town and are using that as a Stadium student. Maybe you would use it, or as a SOTA, School of the Arts student, you might use it. But their interest in that is probably lower than somebody who might live in the North End who's trying to get their child to school in the morning. So those issues they all end up being they think of it differently. So
sure, absolutely. And a key focus with all of those challenges and opportunities is equity. And equity is such a high priority for the city. And you have maintained such a steady focus on equity in all of your work, whether serving on the Tacoma Human Rights Commission or on the board at Associated Ministries. Why is equity so important to you?
Well, I decided to run for office because I believe equity is important. That's why I was on the Human Rights Commission. And I would say that our city has led with equity. Racial equity is one of the number one things that we do, and we look at that in everything that we're doing. So even when we're looking at the link, when we're talking about making it free for students, that was an equity issue. That was something that makes sure that every student in our city could equally access the transportation. It's the same thing when I talk about, I want to just talk a little bit about the equity index. That's a tool we use. It's a map, and the way we look at equity is based on opportunities, like every area having opportunities. And we know that certain areas don't have the same opportunities based on transportation, jobs, sidewalks, whether or not there's sidewalks in neighborhoods. Those are things that we look at, and that's all based on surveys we've done of our residents to find out what their issues are and what they care the most about. And we're going to learn more about the equity index because we're going to be rolling something out in January, an update, so they'll learn more about the equity index. So people should be looking to learn more about that.
It's such an important and impactful tool that we can use. And speaking of looking ahead to 2023 and looking ahead to next year, there are so many goals and things that we have to look forward to, but what are your top 3, if you had to narrow it down, top 3 goals and things you'd like to focus on as a council member?
So I can't believe you're making me pick out 3 things because there's so many things that I care about. And just to give you a little hint, there's a lot of people on this show today that I care about their organizations and the work they're doing. And it's about arts. And so I really care about the arts. And I don't want to say that that's not one of my top 3. It's like number 3.1. So I would say the top 3 things are based on the issues that we have going on in our city, and one of them is housing. And we really have a shortage of housing and different types of housing. And that's something that we as a city have really been working on, is trying to create that missing housing. And that means detached accessory dwelling units, finding a way that we can work with the state to make condominiums available day one rather than having to wait over a certain amount of time to have things become condominiums. One of the things that's really happened in downtown Tacoma is that we have, I think it's about, I want to say 2,400 to 4,000 units of housing coming online in the next few years. If you look at what's been approved during council meetings for housing, there's a lot of housing coming. I'm not sure it's all the right type of housing. It's great to have housing. A lot of it is rentals, and we really need to get to a point where we find a way to make it so that more people can buy housing, because we know that that is something that really equals the playing field for families when they can own their housing. And that wealth is really important. And once you own a house, you can control how much you're paying every month in your mortgage. When people are renting, you have less control. And that's what's happened right now, is that a lot of people are being displaced because rents are increasing in our city. And this is not just in our city. This is happening all over the United States.
Yeah, access to affordable housing, homelessness, these goals, they're so intertwined, right? They all impact one another.
And we only got to my first one.
No, that's great. I think you touched on it as well.
Homelessness is also something that we really need to focus on. And we've put $100 million that we passed the budget for the biennial budget. It's for $100 million for homelessness, affordable housing. We are really putting our money where we think it's important and a priority. We also have to work with our other, collaboratively with the county. The county is a part of this, and it's really important for our city to work with them to also provide funding for, homelessness. And so we're hoping that their sites will come online rather soon. And I meet weekly or monthly with people from Pierce County who are working on that issue. So that's my second. The third thing that I think you really understand is the environment is really important to me. And I really think that the place I can make a difference is looking at tree canopy. Right now, our city is at 20% tree canopy. I think we need to get to 30% canopy. That's our goal. And we're going to I'm working closely with Council Member Christina Walker on some of the priorities that she has to try to create more areas for us to plant trees and to grow that canopy. And I think we have an opportunity. We have a lot of public right-of-way. We have large areas in our city that aren't planted, and that's another area that we get to look at equity, trying to find places to plant where there are less trees. And we know those areas because we can look at our equity index that tells us there's less trees in South Tacoma, and you can see it on maps where the areas are that have lush green on the maps, and those areas are like Northeast Tacoma and by Point Defiance. And we have areas of our city we really need to work on creating an environment where it makes it more enjoyable to live.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting the right trees in the right places.
Right.
They're more than just something pretty to look at. Trees
Yeah,
are so
they do
important.
a lot of really great things. So.
Absolutely. All of these wonderful things going on and so many things to look ahead to in 2023. But communication is key, letting constituents and community members know what's going on. So you help keep your residents informed through the use of a newsletter. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I also have an Instagram, CM Sarah Rumbaugh, that you can go to, and I try to post things there. And I share a lot of things from like the Downtown Tacoma Partnership, which is part of the Chamber of Commerce. But yes, I have a newsletter, and you can go to my website on the City of Tacoma website, and you can sign up for it. And you can email me at srumbaugh@cityoftacoma.org. But I send out a newsletter every other month. I don't do it every month. Councilmember Hines, he does one every month. He's amazing. So I put one together. And this one I'm going to be talking about the transfer station. Tell me what it is again.
Recovery and Transfer Center.
The Recovery and Transfer Station. If you have not been out there, it's the most amazing place because we do such a good job of removing things that could go to the landfill, right? We collect bubble wrap, we collect plastics, certain types of plastic bags that we then shrink into smaller areas. We collect cardboard, paper, but there's bottles, glass, because you can't put that in your recycling. So all of those, they have a place for all of those things at the transfer station. And I think that right now is the time to be talking about that because people are going to be celebrating the holidays. Some people have trees. I'm Jewish, so we have a tree because my husband's not Jewish. But people will have trees that they need to get rid of at the end of the holiday. They'll have wrapping paper, and they should understand that not all wrapping paper is recyclable. They'll have gift boxes. And so this is a great thing to talk about in my newsletter to kind of give people more information. And I think that our public is really interesting because they're always interested in more education. So I think this is an opportunity to educate people. That's how I use my newsletter. It's not really about talking about issues that you can read about in the paper or hear about necessarily in council meetings. It's really about things that you might not know about.
Absolutely.
And that's what I focus on.
Yeah, holidays can be the most wonderful time of the year and sometimes the most wasteful. So that sounds like an awesome topic for your newsletter. It seems like we're just going into next year, but it'll be here before we know it. Next year is an election year for some of the council seats. What advice or what would you say to somebody who is considering running for office?
Well, we have some really great people on our council, and they're going to be up for re-election. So I'm going to actually say I love my council, and I think every single one of them is amazing. Our newest council member is Council Member Olgi Diaz, and she was chosen by our council members. And I think that if you're planning to run, you're going to have a tough time because the people that are on our council have done a great job. So I'm really supportive of Councilmember John Hines, Councilmember Christina Walker, and Councilmember Olgi Diaz. But if you're choosing to run, I think we are a city that always is very inclusive. Making sure that people feel like they belong, and you are always welcome to run for office. And there are great people to help you and interest groups out there. And good luck, though, because the people that you'll be running against are just great people. And they've been doing a great job if you've been paying attention to council meetings and study sessions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Big shoes to fill, but important shoes to fill for sure.
Right.
So we'll close that way. How can constituents contact you? I think you mentioned your email earlier. Is that the best way?
I am very reachable. So you're welcome to reach out to me at rumbaugh@cityoftacoma.org. You can schedule a meeting with me. Chantra Real is my assistant. She does the scheduling for me and for 3 other council members. We have like 4 of us that she works with, but you're welcome to get a meeting on the books with her. I will meet with you. I will give you a call back. I try to find as many ways as I can to connect with you. I'm not somebody who sits behind my office and doesn't get back to people. If I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. Please try again.
Great.
I was on vacation, and then we were out of town for a council thing in Kansas City, but I am always available to my constituents.
Wonderful.
Not just my constituents, but to the city.
Well, that's wonderful. Councilmember Sarah Rumbaugh, thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to 2023 and all the wonderful things that you and the council are going to do.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And we'll have more Cityline right after the break.